Okay, we're
It's live.
live. I don't know why I'm laughing, but we'll see. I'm just looking to see if it's actually live on LinkedIn or
Hmm,
not.
that's interesting.
It's not yet, so I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. We don't
we
have
don't.
any eyes on us either, so I can see the eyes. um, the eyes.
Now it's
Oh,
live. It
now
now it's
it's live.
live.
Okay.
Hi LinkedIn. Hi you.
Hi. We're gonna have fun with this because we don't know what we're doing and we're making it up as we go along.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. Oh, we got 15 people. Oh, what happened? My LinkedIn, my cheat window. Okay, so we should start talking to people because it looks like we have about 15 people on LinkedIn who
Hmm.
are watching us. So we're not practiced at this. We're being human and not scripted.
You can
Because,
be sure that we are not AI avatars.
yeah. Oh, we're getting a lot of comments. I don't know. I was trying to keep an eye on LinkedIn because I know the LinkedIn comments don't always come through onto this StreamYard, but it looks like they're there. So okay, thank you. Then thank you for bearing with us as we get started on this first how to thrive in an AI world. And I will say the first thing is to have some fun and not to get all stressed out about how to use StreamYard and whether it's live or not, even when it says it's live. Um, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Stephanie Barnes. I'm Canadian, have recently returned from Berlin. I'm a knowledge management consultant, although I actually have an undergrad in accounting and an MBA in IT. So the whole uh, that's a I'm, the whole analytical side of me, gets a workout once in a while, but I have become increasingly creative the older I've gotten and the more I realize what I missed out by being so analytical in my education. And so, yeah, I have a box of crayons on my desk and a clown nose to keep things light and Bill the bot and Cow the coo and Steve the dragon. Just for, when days get rough. Um, so that's me. Simo, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Thanks, Stephanie. Well, yeah, I'm an improviser. I think there's a book of like business impro here on the shelf, just by accident. And I call myself culture and interaction designer because that's what I do. I help people to interact and communicate better in organizations. And I'm using applied improvisation. You could also say that I'm applying improvisational meta skills, whatever that means to you. Yeah, that's what
Good.
I, and yeah, so yeah, having fun actually, having fun is actually a key word. I mean,
Yeah.
emotions. If you
Yeah.
think of how to thrive as a human, like build connections,
Yeah.
and being a goofy, flaky, imperfect human beings like we have been until now in this stream. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to tell people why we decided to do this?
Sure, because it's like that brings me to the state of not knowing. Because we have been actually we met like 18 months ago ish.
Yeah, 15 months. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
50 months ago.
Yeah.
And we have been having these conversations. We have enjoyed so much and had so much fun. Uh, we have never actually met in person, only
No.
in Zoom.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have like almost like weekly Zooms, and we just have fun and talk. So why we are doing this series, why we started this, it was one of those ideas that popped up in our conversations. There's no greater reason that, except that saving the world uh, might be one. What about you? What do you think about why we are doing this?
Yeah, I think it was one of those things that we were talking a few weeks ago or a month ago, and kind of said we're hearing a lot of the same things from the people that we're talking to about struggling with the technology and the pace of change, and and this need seemingly to compare ourselves to technology and to beat the technology, and I do a lot of stuff talking about how to help the humans in an AI world. And so yeah, I think we just said, let's do a session and see what kind of engagement we can get, and share our thoughts. Maybe invite questions and comments from the audience. So hopefully that's going to show up here in the, or certainly there are some comments and things in the chat window here in the studio. So see what happens, and yeah, how invite, like I say, questions of what you think we need to do to thrive in an AI world. You and I, Simo, will talk about what we think from our perspectives and our experiences, and yeah, see where it goes over the next few weeks, because I think this is something that can't really be done in half an hour or 45 minutes. It feels like something that needs to be a continuing discussion, much like our own continuing discussions over the last 15 months or so since we met in that. Where was it we met? In some 3-day freebie workshop thing. I forget, summit, one of those online summit things. So yeah.
Something about creativity.
Yeah, probably, given our backgrounds, our experiences, what we do. So yeah, so let me ask you, Simo, since we're talking about how to thrive as a human in an AI world, what do you think? What do we need to do to thrive in this crazy AI world?
I think we just need to accept that AI is coming and evolving in a rapid, very, very fast way. So it's almost exponential, it feels like, the development of AI. So we have to firstly, to thrive, to accept that it's coming, and probably develop a healthy relationship with it. Because it's no use, just trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
To find ways of having a relationship.
Yeah.
Not use AI, but I think I mean what I say, like having what kind of relationship are we building with it?
Yeah. It's about having a boundary with it, like your relative that shows up at Christmas dinner, with who has
The unwanted
yeah.
cousin.
Yeah, but they show up at Christmas because they're family, and and so it's about,
annoying one.
yeah, so it's about setting the
But
boundary, and not overreacting, and just kind of smiling and nodding and taking what they say that's useful and leaving the rest. So yeah, I think it's about recognizing, as you were saying, like, it's a tool. AI is a tool.
yeah.
It's good at some things and not so good at others. It mimics things, which I find frightening. The people who think it's somehow human and conscious and have relationships with AI, and form an emotional bond. And that, I find that disturbing, that we are so out of touch with each other that we're not having the relationship with a real person. and expressing our emotions to a real person. We're
Mm.
expressing it to a bot and then get upset when it doesn't call us by the right name, or it says something, it goes down a dark hole with us and tells us to commit suicide, which has happened, right? And so people believe that these things are conscious, and there's not. They're not. So yeah, it's about boundaries and all kinds of things, recognizing our humanity.
Yeah, I've heard also like people who are actually using AI to practice hard conversations with humans. So that's I think that sounds healthy to me. It's like if you have a shitty boss and you are not afraid to confront them, and then you practice with AI and say, "Hey, be my shitty boss," and I will practice how to dodge the bullets.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better to practice to do that kind of role play with a real person?
Well, that's what I do for profession.
It's
So
what I've done too, you know.
kind of sawing my branch where I'm sitting if I say that you practice with AI. But yeah, I've heard that people do that. I'm kind of skeptical with that because it's like if you think of how we began this show, it was totally like goofy and flaky and chaotic.
Yeah.
And bosses can be that too, but
Yeah.
AI can't probably yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I see a comment here in the thread from Andrew about we talk a lot in KM about the need for critical thinking, and is this making us more or less human in an AI world? And I think critical thinking certainly makes us human. I don't think a large language model AI tool has any critical thinking.
There's no critical thinking. The I don't find the world. I try to use a four-letter word, but I'm refraining. But the AI is lying.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
pleasing in a sense. It's mimicking the being a pleasant communicator.
Yeah. It's that ultimate need for approval. It's going to tell you what you want to hear,
Yeah,
not necessarily what's right or what's accurate.
but I have to throw, just because we are now in the beginning of this process of having this dialogue, this conversation about humans and AI, I have to read a poem. I didn't ask AI to write a poem. No, because they write shitty poetry, and yeah, I don't even want to read real poems written by AI. So I'm reading actually a poem that was Otter AI transcripted one of the discussion I had in Finnish. Finnish is my mother language, with a friend, and Otter was transcribing it, and the language setting was English, and it didn't actually translate it to English, but wrote a poetic transcription that actually popped my synapses. I think it's fascinating. I'm going to read an excerpt, a short excerpt of that. Okay. We don't know I can quite Kansas. You guys are book data also. Listen, honey, minimize. Okay, yeah, yes. It's about select. Okay, Minka City. Metal, Augustine, Marin, type, okay. If estimate of people, man, I get the business leadership. May Allah, scene-oriented Kansas, around team is pretty obvious. Either it may not have part, Alita Mendoza, yeah. The hand, I can, oh my, again. Yo, Sai Mo. No money on it, said Levitt Costa. Think, Simon. I love it. It's total nonsense.
It kind of got a rhythm to it.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it because it's doing something actually in my head. It's kind of like tickling inside because I'm trying to find a meaning and then it escapes. And then I'm grasping something and it escapes. So I actually like it.
Yeah. Well, and I find it interesting because I use those transcription tools sometimes for meetings and things, and it does a pretty good job in English, just transcribing the English. But that's interesting that it's not doing such a good job with, a language that's not English.
It is if the language setting is Finnish.
Oh, okay.
If it has this option, but that was my bad. I didn't change the language option. So the
Oh,
setting.
okay.
So that's
Okay.
why it went havoc. But I
So
like
it's
chaos.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's fun. I've generated a piece of work to
I think
share.
I think now, like AI by mistake with this is actually kind of like feeding my creativity.
Right.
So that's what that's what I mean about relationship. It's
Yeah.
like, why don't we find out fun and productive ways of playing with it?
Yeah. 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 Well, and have found it more useful for things that I don't have a lot of experience or expertise in, to give me a starting point that I then go and edit and go and do the research, because it gives me that starting point, rather than me searching around for 3 hours trying to figure out and get my head around how I should start this. It gives me the start of the thread, and then I have the start of the thread, and then I'm off to the races, and I can go and pull books and videos and find people who have expertise and in that area, and so by the end, what it gave me that seed, but I've developed this whole plant or this flower, this forest.
And it's important that actually you do your part.
Yeah.
That not just because it's like I just read an article in a Finnish newspaper about a recruiter that says that, oh my God, I'm so fed up reading work applications written by AI, because it's like you can't tell them apart.
No.
Everybody seems to be the same average
There's
thing.
no personality.
Yeah.
There's no personality. There's no emotion. There's no human in it, because the human's been taken out.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I find that interesting that recruiters are saying that, because they're the ones that are using these technologies to screen people out.
Ooh.
Right. And so now they're complaining because, and this is, I talk about this with some of the gamification stuff and metric stuff that I do, is like, be careful what you measure, because that's exactly what you're going to get. And so we've got all these algorithms now that are, give us this content, we'll push you up, we'll make sure more people see you, but then all the content's the same. So it's boring and it's tedious and it's repetitive. And
so how to thrive as a human in this context we are just discussing, like recruiting or whatever, I would say take your chances and write a shitty application.
I mean, well, not a shitty one, but a human one.
Imperfect, like personal, like an imperfection is how you actually, I mean, if you're trying to be in improvisation, Keith Johnstone, who's the guru, may he rest in peace, that I have been following, like in the early days in the 90s, and well, he said something about trying to be original, that that don't do that, don't try to be original when you improvise, because then you are approaching, you are arriving to an area that everybody recognizes that that's original, which actually doesn't tell or reveal anything about you. So if you are actually stating the obvious for you, like what's authentic and true for me, then you are truly original. So
Yeah.
so how to thrive as a human being might be, this small seed in that
Yeah.
hey, be authentic, don't try to out clever yourself, don't try to be something that you are not.
Yeah, it's being authentic, right?
Yeah.
Being yourself, not trying to be somebody else. And I think that that's what all these algorithms and things are encouraging us to be, is someone else. Someone that whoever the developers are, whoever the creators of the algorithm are, fit their idea of
Yeah.
what a person is supposed to do. And
And if you think of, like, before AI, social media has made us all great storytellers. So it doesn't mean that we are more authentic, but we are better at telling stories that kind of sell, like that people want to read and buy. That I've seen so many people, actually I know, that who are presenting themselves in social media in a totally dishonest way.
yeah, yeah,
But they are telling stories that are not true.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because there's a difference between telling a story that is true and telling a story that isn't true.
Mm.
So,
Uh,
it's
there is a slight difference, but AI doesn't recognize that.
no, humans do,
Yeah.
sometimes at least.
Oh,
If we coming back to what Andrew said about critical thinking and going,
yes.
oh, hold on, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't fit with what I know. Let me investigate this. Let me
Or
do
that
some
doesn't,
more research.
or that doesn't
Let me
feel
ask one of my library friends and see if they could help.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
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 that's also like intuition, like emotion, imagination, dreaming, improvisation. Like there's lots of stuff that AI doesn't, know how to do, at least.
no, no, AI doesn't dream.
For all we know.
Yeah. I'm thinking about HAL in 2001. Was it
Oh my
2001?
I was, that was probably in the back of my mind, because I was kind of hoping that it never learns to dream.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
and then we will be in trouble, probably. I don't know.
yeah,
But how to thrive as a human? Hmm.
yeah,
Well, that's a good question, even like without AI. But
yeah.
we have been bumping into, at least I have been bumping into the word belonging
Mhm.
lately a lot. For
Yeah.
example, actually today in LinkedIn, one of my dear colleagues, Kat Coppett, um, wrote a post about belonging, and it was a beautiful text. Thank you, Kat, if you are listening. Uh, Belonging brings, if I think of like how we thrive as human beings, I think that's a key ingredient, that we feel that we are belonging to a group of people that get us, that
Yeah.
we can be authentic with.
Yeah. 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 That sense of belonging. And I think technology has both helped and hindered that, because we've it makes it easier to find people who think like us or believe the same things as us. But then when you start to apply some critical thinking, or maybe go, oh, well, that part of what you're saying I disagree with, then in that we haven't learned how to have those disagreements in a way that allows us to find a middle ground, or to accept that we can agree on 90% of something, but not, and disagree on 10% and still belong. We don't have to be 100% the same to belong to a group. And I think in some ways that's more real.
Well, yeah, and actually, I'm sorry I interrupted, because I'm just so excited. Sorry, Stephanie.
No.
But if you think of, like, that's kind of one way to build a group that's having coherence, or having, sense of belonging, if that they are people who think alike. But diverse groups are actually stronger if the quality of interaction is constructive, if they are cooperating.
Yes.
So if there's competition in a group, then it's difficult to have, like, different opinions. It could be dangerous. But if there's no competition, so the quality of the interaction is different. It's not about competition, but it's more about cooperation and building combinations. Well, in improv we call that yes-anding. We are building content together, accepting each other's offers, and yes-anding that building, like, building stuff together. So then you don't have to think alike. You don't have to be a clone. You can be whatever you are, and be authentic. If the quality of interaction is constructive.
And curiosity is an important part of that. And I think about a conversation that I had with someone at an art opening. I don't know, I had only been in Berlin maybe a year and a half, and got talking to a guy that was a retired lawyer. And the opening was crowded, and I couldn't, it wasn't easy to kind of, okay, I'm going to go talk to somebody else, or I'm going to go refresh my drink or something. That was just that packed. And so I ended up having this conversation with him, and like I say, retired lawyer, but turned out to be an AFD member. So AFD is far right, Alternative for Deutschland. Not someone, that I really want to talk to, but I'm kind of stuck because of how crowded this art opening was. And I ended up having a really good conversation with him, because I just stayed in that curiosity of well, why do you think? It was at the time when all the Syrian refugees had come into Germany. So there were 1 million refugees had been let into Germany. There were a lot of people upset about it. He was one of them. And we got into this conversation about why he didn't think that the refugees should be there. And after some back and forth, I learned that he had been a child during World War II, and had watched various troops move through the country, living on a farm with his mother and his sister. He was 5 years old, 6, 7 years old. He was a child. His father had gone off to fight in the war, and didn't return from the war. And I can imagine, as a 7-year-old boy, how terrifying that must have been, with these armies passing through all the time, and how unsettling and chaotic it would have been, and the sense of uncertainty and things. And he's like, he had to stay, or his family had to stay when all this was happening, and fight. His father went to fight on the German side, and so he felt that the Syrians should have had to stay in their country, and which I can understand. As a human being, absolutely, I can understand, his perspectives. And I said to him, though, if you had a choice, would you have chosen to leave and go someplace that was safe? And the first 2 times I asked the question, he avoided it. He, sort of half answered it and moved on. But I kept coming back, because I realized I didn't get an answer. And I was genuinely curious about what his answer was. And the third time I asked him, he finally said, yes, if they had the opportunity to move and go someplace safer, he would have wanted his mother to go,
Mm.
and go someplace safe. And so I said, so how is that different than the Syrian refugees? They've had an opportunity that you didn't have, and I'm sorry that you didn't have that opportunity, but they've had an opportunity to go someplace safe that you didn't have. And you've just told me that if you'd had the opportunity, you too would have wanted to go, and so I said to him, and by then the art opening was dispersing a little bit, and so we kind of wrapped the conversation up. But I said to him, if you ever want to have a coffee sometime, I would be happy to talk to you more about this, because I am curious about it. I don't think that I changed his mind. He didn't change my mind. But I also felt like in his 70 odd years, I was possibly the only one that had ever asked him why he felt that way. Because people just make the judgment, oh, you're AFD, you're an evil, horrible human being, and I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with you, right?
Judgment is coming too easily for us, and I think you mentioned several times the word curiosity, and that's so beautiful. So I think, to me, one of the takeaways for this discussion is that if you are meeting people outside of your bubble, be curious.
Yeah.
Use your curiosity and refrain from judgment. Don't, just accept the fact that you come from different bubbles, you come from different planets mentally, but be curious about how does it look like there. I can see, there's actually, I found the comments. I was like not finding them, and there are so many nice things here. Anthony Quinn said that Keith Johnstone actually also said that about being authentic, that be more boring. That was one of like, don't try to be interesting, be more boring.
Yeah.
The obvious
Yeah,
thing.
I like that.
And also Maria Joutsenvirta here writes that firstly, we have to practice being true to ourselves. And secondly, we have to show up authentically to others. I'm not sure about the first and second things that we can practice, like either way of being authentic. We can try to help other people be authentic, kind of like lower the bar. You don't have to be clever. I'm easy.
Yeah.
and so you don't have to put up a show with me. Just be yourself. Or we could, of course, we can practice that with ourselves too. But please, hey, people, because we have been talking like for over about 30 minutes, and we have like a 45-minute slot here maximum. So if you want to throw in some questions or participate more, there's still a chance. And thank everybody that has been writing the chat.
Yeah, I like what Anthony Quinn wrote about strength and diversity. Absolutely, there is.
And Johnny Moore about the pressure of social media that it creates for everyone to be shiny, and that's toxic. Yes. I do agree, Johnny, my dear British friend.
Yeah, the whole toxic positivity thing. Yeah, absolutely. It makes me crazy. So, I was trying to respond to some of the comments, but then I'm getting a message from StreamYard that it won't post them. And I'm so trying to look on my iPad on LinkedIn but LinkedIn won't show it to me. So I don't know. And I need to pay attention to our conversation. So I apologize if
you need an AI to help you.
I think I need a real person to keep an eye on these other channels while you and I are talking. So
a studio
assistant. Maybe that's a lesson for our future one.
Get a LinkedIn user said that recommended a video, Why AI is Incredibly Smart and Shockingly Stupid, by Yeyin Choi. It's a TED Talk.
Okay.
I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, I will too. So I think actually I might have watched that already, but I'll watch it again. So
we keep forgetting things.
Yeah.
People. AI doesn't forget, does it? No.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a good thing to forget, right?
Yeah.
because people change. So, people change and grow and learn what we've just been talking about. And they're not this, I think about, I lived in Berlin for 9 years. I think about the person I was when I moved to Berlin and the person I am now. It's not the same person. So, I don't want to be held accountable for something I said. And that was the thing when I decided to return to Canada. People were like, "Oh, but you love Berlin and you were never going to move." And I'm like, "Yeah, but new information requires a new decision." And that was really what had happened. I had new information personally and professionally, and it felt like time for a new decision, a relocation.
Berlin, so I've heard, is a very transformative city. Also,
Yes. Yes. In a good way and in a bad way. No, I should say bad. I shouldn't say bad. Those are both judgmental. It's about what you take from it. And so and that's true of any situation, right? It's what you take from it, what you can learn from it. Maybe you learn that you don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Or maybe you learn that, oh, that was really cool. I'd like to do that again. So like, we're having fun here. I would definitely do this again next week with you and see. Yes, agree. I just saw Maria's comment. People crave a sense of connection and meaningfulness that they can't get from social media and artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's probably something we want to discuss further in the next episodes.
Yeah.
It's like I'm throwing in a book recommendation, which is Love 2.0 by, oh my God. Help me, somebody write into the chat that who's written that, Love 2.0. It's the positive psychology. Yeah, thing, the woman. And I'm just having a blackout with the name. So, but anyways, in that book, she writes about positive resonance, meaning kind of a loving relationship with two human beings, not the romantic type of love, but kind of a loving kindness way of being together. And I think that's worth discussing. I mean, more, because if we want to belong, connect, and also to form kind of the hive mind kind of clusters of people, I think that's something really interesting. Actually, what improvisers do that already, so we could learn something from improvisers in that sense. Barbara L. Fredrickson, thank you, Anthony, my trusted friend.
Yeah.
And how our supreme emotion affects everything we feel, think, do, and become. Yeah, I really love that book, and it really sticks with me. And I think that came to my mind when we were planning, Stephanie, this series of talks about AI and how to thrive as a human, because I believe that love is the answer.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, Johnny, that was beautiful. We're in information overload, and what we are often missing is resonance. That sense of an other living being resonating. Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How to thrive, how to thrive. I think that's there.
Yeah. Not be afraid of that connection and that the emotions, what it means to be human. So, our emotions. I think all the technology has made everything transactional. And I don't know if Lucas is on here or not. Lucas and I have conversations about transactions versus relationship, and how everything has become very transactional because it's all driven by the technology and by again, back to the gamification and the points and the metrics of, the feeding the algorithm what it wants. being fastest, being, getting the 5 out of 5 stars or the 10 out of 10, and rather than having the relationship. So I have a story. I don't know that we have enough time about that, but maybe I'll save that for next time.
I want to ask a personal question of you, Stephanie.
Okay.
Yeah. Yikes. It's an easy one. Okay. And you can be really truthful because we have never met in person.
No, we haven't.
My question is that, do you think that we have a connection, like we have a human connection? Do you think that we have had micro moments of positivity resonance?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think we would be doing this if we hadn't.
Yeah. So. And that's why I asked this is, I'm, for example, somebody mentioned in the chat that I'm also teaching virtual facilitation, like experimental learning in virtual settings. So, and there are still so many people, at least in Finland, that say that innovation, creativity, and real connection with people is not possible online. I'm like, bollocks.
I think that's crap. I think you have to work at it and be conscious of it. I absolutely think that it's possible, and I think that I have had people say that to, that I've had positive feedback about my interactions with people online, that it feels very natural that they're in the same room with me, and that kind of stuff. And I like that. I have no idea what it is that I do because I'm just me. This is just me.
Could your robot say hi to my robot?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're fluffy. I'm hard. What's your name?
This is Bill the bot.
Oh, could you give me a name? I don't have one.
Robbie Robot.
Robbie Robot. Thank you. You named my robot. Hi, Robbie.
So I just looking at the time. We should probably think about wrapping up here, but this has been fun. Oh, I just saw Maria's comment. I'm like the dog in that movie. Is it an Up? Oh, squirrel. Oh, a comment.
You had the spider there too.
Yeah, I had the spider before walking across the wall.
Something like very intelligent and deep. Oh, there's a bug. Total Pixar moment.
I like that, Maria. Thank you. Resonance is not a state of a feeling, but a state of being in a relationship when feelings are present. Thank you. I like that. So, yeah. And so maybe on that note, we should wrap up. We are going to do this again, I think next week, same time, same place, same bat channel. For those of you old enough to remember the same bat channel. And yeah, we'll talk some more about how to thrive as a human in an AI world. We'll talk more about relationship and the love 2.0 stuff that we've just been talking about and being in relationship. And
please write to the LinkedIn, like the comments about like what thoughts you might have after this discussion, and also like what would you like us to talk about, like in the next episodes of the grand show of how to thrive in an AI world.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been great. I'm glad everybody came. If we missed responding to your comment, I'll go back and through them all once we're done. So some glitches with the tech. Well, I think just we need somebody else trying to keep an eye on the chat and making sure that we're not missing anything.
Yeah, I think I learned during this. I think I'm like AI. I learn, or does AI learn?
Yeah. Not so sure about that. Not learning the way that humans learn, at least. So anyway, Thank you, everyone, for coming and for sharing your thoughts. And we hope to see you next week and join us on the next part 2 of this conversation, ongoing conversation. Thanks and have a great day.